What you don't know can hurt you. That's what we're talking about today. See who hops on. Sierra Carnivore, how's it going? Hello, hello, hello. Dave, how's it going? Today I'm talking about what you don't know can hurt you. What do you think about that topic? Norman Harrison, what's going on? Phil, how's it going? Name calling today. I'm name calling today. Romeo, what's happening? Pedo09, how you doing? How you doing? Come on in. Today I'm talking about what you don't know can hurt you. I'm live on Instagram and Facebook. Where we at today? What city, state, country? Where you at? Drop some names if you will. I'm in Texas. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Where you at? Live in truth, live in truth. What's going on? New Jersey. That's what I'm talking about. Texas. There you go. Texas. Okay, Texas is in the house today. San Antonio. Okay, that's what's up. What you don't know can hurt you. I was having a conversation with someone earlier this week, and Houston. All right. Um, I'm gonna give it maybe another 2 minutes before I really start talking about the topic. But I was having a conversation with somebody early this week, and I was a little surprised at the things that they didn't know. Um, but I wasn't surprised because many of us, including myself, right? When it comes to nutrition, when it comes to health, when it comes to dieting, when it comes to the human body, the anatomy, when it comes to a lot of things about self, many of us just don't know. We don't have a clue. We didn't have a clue. And some of us still don't have a clue on the truth of the matter, right? And so I wanted to title this live, What You Don't Know Can Hurt You. I mean, it's self-explanatory, right? It speaks for itself. I remember when I used to drink tons of energy drinks, tons of it, one or two a day, every day, right? I thought it was good. We've been lied to about everything pertaining to health. Absolutely. You know, I thought I was doing something drinking my energy drink. I was like, oh, I don't really drink sodas. I drink energy drinks sometimes. Every now and then I'll have an energy drink, right? Going to different fast food restaurants. I'm not really going to call any names, but different fast food restaurants and eating whatever, right? French fries, everything. Every time you got a burger, you got to get some French fries. You can't leave the French fries out, right? Eating Kit Kats and Snickers, going to the vending machine and just picking something based on how you feel. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about, right? I used to tear those vending machines up. What you don't know can hurt you. And so I was talking to the person earlier, And the only reason I'm bringing the conversation up is because I would like to have more conversations like these where people are open to just have a dialect. You don't have to have the same belief. You don't have to have um, the same understanding, but just be open to having a conversation. And so, we were talking and I was, explaining certain things and they were asking questions and I was a little surprised at what they didn't know. And, you've seen the reels and, the remixes and stuff that I've been doing lately. And some of them has been talking about cholesterol, sugar, um, things that affect us in a negative way, right? And I'm going to be posting a story maybe tomorrow or Saturday with an article attached to it. And the article talks about sugar, insulin resistance, and cholesterol. And it's interesting because of how closely related they are. Sugar, insulin resistance, and cholesterol. But cholesterol, from a quote unquote LDL standpoint, right? The bad cholesterol, low density lipoprotein, right? The bad cholesterol. And it's interesting because it says that the correlation of insulin resistance, sugar, and LDL are interchangeable. They go together. And according to the article, it tells you that if you eat too much sugar, eventually your pancreas will be confused and your pancreas will either begin to raise, lower, adjust your blood sugar levels or your insulin production. And sometimes it would just stop producing insulin altogether. We know that's called diabetes. But what it goes on to say, it went on to say that if you eat too much sugar, if your insulin is affected, if your pancreas is affected, then that leads to producing LDL. And a lot of people don't really like talking about this because, some people say cholesterol is not a thing to worry about if we eat clean. So I'm only talking about what the article is saying, right? So here's the reason why I'm bringing it up. Because for years they told us, and they're still telling us, stay away from too much meat, stay away from saturated fat, stay away from red meat, because it clogs your arteries and it produces LDL, the bad cholesterol. Now let's think about this. I'm a thinking man. I like to pose questions and narratives and think about certain things, right? Let's think about this for a second. If we know heart disease is still on the rise, right? Since the early 1900s, 1950s till now, if we know heart disease is on the rise, we know diabetes has been on the rise. We know aneurysms and kidney problems and liver problems have been on the rise. We know all of this, right? We know that it's said, and I'm only going to tell you what's said because I don't have 100% proof on this, but it's said that today the average person eat in one day eats what somebody would have eaten in an entire year of sugar. Now think about that concept. Either a day or a week's worth of sugar that the average person eats today was equivalent to what somebody ate for an entire year in the early 1900s, 1950s. Think about that concept. And so heart disease, liver disease, all types of disease is on a rise, right? It's been rising and rising and rising. They're telling us to stay away from red meat, stay away from meat, don't eat so much saturated fat, don't eat so much don't eat stuff with cholesterol in it. But yet you have ultra processed foods, you have sugar, right? You have seed oils, you have chemicals and everything. But this article specifically said that sugar messes up your pancreas, which causes chronic inflammation or chronic, not chronic inflammation, chronic, I want to say insulin resistance. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. So the article says sugar, too much sugar messes with your pancreas, creates chronic insulin resistance, creates inflammation, right? Which creates LDL or bad cholesterol, right? All of these foods marketed towards kids, absolutely. And that's why you have children who are obese, who have diabetes, who have all types of issues. It's unprecedented. It's never happened before in history. But now you have all these young kids with all this problem. But yet they say, stay away from cholesterol. Why is that? Yet they say, listen, I've been trying to post a video all day, and the gram wasn't having it. I've been trying since this morning at 8:30. The gram is not allowing me to post it. It's nothing crazy. 1 minute I don't have reception. I post it, it goes all the way through, and then it just stays on the posting. All day long, I've been trying to post one video, and it will not let me do it. But if it ever lets me do it, you'll know why when you see the video. I'm going to try again tomorrow. But so the point that I'm trying to make here is we know, to sell statins, exactly. We know that cholesterol is made in the body. The body makes about 80% of the cholesterol that we need. Cholesterol is made by the liver. Cholesterol is absolutely essential for brain function, cell health, reproductive health, all types of stuff, right? Not to mention, the vitamin D helps with the cholesterol conversion. But the 20% that you get from food is vital, right? But not just any food that's nutrient dense. So if the problem really was the saturated fat, and we know for a fact, it's a fact, you can't even argue this. You can't even argue the fact that in the 1800s, 1900s, people were using animal fat to cook. They were raising chickens and using eggs. They were drinking milk, sheep, goat milk, cow's milk, all these things that were going on way back then. Lard to cook in, right? But somehow the same meat that they were eating back then is now a problem. But they're not talking about the process the ultra processed, the sugar, the seed oils. You know, you go into a grocery store and 90% of the store is all the stuff that's going to land you in the hospital, but somehow the meat's the problem. But I thought the article was very interesting because it's telling you straight up too much sugar, chronic insulin resistance, heart problems, and messes up your cholesterol. Good evening. How are you? How's that baby doing? Well, shoot, it might be already time. So yeah, it's just interesting, right? That we can sit here and once our eyes are open to the truth. So I just did my blood work for the first time since I've been on the carnivore diet. Baby is due any day now. Yes. So I just finally did my blood work. I wanted to wait for a decent amount of time before I jumped right into it, right? So before I was a carnivore, my labs, my blood work was a mess. My white blood cells were low, my red blood count were low, my vitamin D was low, my B12 was low. They told me I was anemic. Um, my it was just a mess. Everything was in red. I had like 7 things that was all in red. Low, 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 low. It was so low that it triggered the HIV panel to where like once you get to a certain point, it automatically tells it to test further to see if you have HIV. I was all scared. I'm like, what? But it's something that they have in there that when your counts meet a certain level, it automatically triggers it to test it. Because when I got my results back, I'm looking, I'm like, what the hell is this? So, but anyways, this is all before I started increasing my saturated fat intake, right? So I just got my lab results back on today's Thursday, on Tuesday. No, it was yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday. Got my lab results back. And everything, with the exception of my white blood count, everything is beyond the normal range. It's high. My red blood count, high. Vitamin B12, high. Vitamin D, high. All my ranges are excellent. Right? My cholesterol was high. The doctor tried to tell me, well, you need to watch your cholesterol because, now you're pre-diabetic. And, oh, yeah? Isn't that interesting? We're going to monitor it. You don't have anything to worry about right now, but we're going to monitor it just to make sure, So what am I saying? When I was on a plant-based diet, my blood levels were terrible. Yay for high cholesterol, absolutely. My labs were terrible on a plant-based diet. My lymphatic system was shot. But I kept going because I thought I had to, detox more and fast more and do all these things, right? I told my dad a few months ago about eating more meat and less sugar. And 2 weeks ago, he redid his blood work and he revealed his reversed his pre-diabetes. See that? So the thing that they're trying to convince us to do is really to stay on the hamster wheel, because most of us don't know any better. Where to go, Zach? That's what I'm talking about. reversed his pre-diabetes by adding more meat to his diet. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous about what my blood work was gonna look like because my 2 previous blood works were terrible, terrible. So I'm like, ooh, it's been almost a year since I started the carnivore diet. I was a little nervous. So when I seen the results, I was like, wow, taken back, right? So, I'm excited. I'm excited about the journey. I'm excited about the journey for some of you all. And, they'll definitely try to use fear tactics to scare us into doing the opposite of what we know. Like my brain function has never felt this good. So yeah, I wanted to come on and share some of those things with you. And I'm gonna try to doctor it up and post a before and after of my labs so that you can see how crazy they were before compared to now. The last lab I had done was in 2020 or 2021, either 2020 or 2021. I can't remember which one it was. And they were terrible. Low cholesterol is a killer. Absolutely. Literally. Because it sends your body into chaos. And then it starts robbing Peter to pay Paul. The post that I did the other day, your brain is greedy. Your body wants to survive. So it will absolutely knock something out of the park and rob something from somewhere else just so it can survive. You don't want to give me enough iron, D3, B12. You don't want to give me enough minerals to survive. I'm going to take it from somewhere else. Low cholesterol increases heart attack problems. Absolutely. Now that we understand, what's really going on, it's a no-brainer when you really think about it. They tell us somebody, Stephanie Keto, I got to give her credit for this. Stephanie said, she said that sugar is the problem. She said, think about this, right? They tell us that saturated fat clogs the arteries, right? But if you go outside on a hot day and you pour some chicken fat or any type of fat on the concrete outside, and then you take some sugar and you pour it on the concrete outside, you walk away and you come back and you step in the fat, what's going to happen? You might go sliding, right? You step in the sugar, it's gonna get you're gonna get stuck. You're gonna be trying to peel your feet off of the sugar because it's sticky, even in the heat. So if the human anatomy, if the core temperature of the body is 98.6 degrees, the cholesterol is slipping and sliding, but the sugar is sticking, even in the heat. Think about that concept. And we know how cholesterol and saturated fat is broken down in the body. Do we really know how sugar is broken down in the body? To what extent? Absolutely. And actually learned that it's normal to low levels that cause, normal to low levels that cause heart issues. So elevated levels are actually what's normal. Exactly. That's why my labs look the way they do. Yep, that's exactly true. That's why my labs look the way they do. And so your body can function optimally when you give it, what it needs. So, people say you got to have a balanced diet. That's cool. I'm all for it. If you want to have a balanced diet, just make sure that you're eating more meat than you are anything else. Make sure you're eating your fats, your butter, your ghee, your duck fat, or whatever type of fat you want to eat. Make sure that you're eating, a decent amount of fat with all that protein. And make sure when you're eating them vegetables, you have enough fat in there, because them vegetables is going to snatch up some of the nutrients when it's being digested. So I did an experiment the other day on myself. I added some vegetables back into my diet, right? I still kept the level of meat and dairy, but I added some vegetables, some cabbage and some bok choy into my diet, sauteed it, and then I ate it with everything else that I normally eat. Typically, when I eat, I'm full for about 3 to 4 hours, sometimes longer. But did you know that I was hungry within like 2 hours? Not only was I hungry within like 2 hours, it was that empty stomach, like hunger. I haven't felt that way in months, but it didn't happen until I decided to add the vegetables to my diet. So what does that tells me? Tell me. That tells me that when you consume vegetables, it actually takes nutrients. It inhibits, disrupts, it does something to the satiation, the fullness that you feel. It's an interesting concept. Yep, because of the fermentation process that occurs in the gut. Yep, you're utilizing more energy, and instead of the blood and everything focusing on the nutrient absorption in one area, it's focusing on it in multiple areas. So it's taking more of an effort. Therefore, the digestive process is not the same. Interesting concept, right? And so you have people who eat a lot of rice and beans and vegetables and a little bit of meat, a little bit of chicken, a little bit of beef, right? And you're full. You think you're doing something because you're full, but 80% of the food that you just ate doesn't really go, it doesn't really get absorbed. It doesn't really go to beneficial nutrients. Think about that concept. Nutrient 70 to 90% of all nutrient absorption happens in the small intestines. So, excuse me. So if you're eating predominantly food that goes into the colon for fermentation, right? So think about it, right? You got a big bowl with rice, beans, what else? Maybe some avocado, um, maybe a salad, and a piece of chicken, a piece of beef, some chicken wings. and you think you're doing something, and all of that food bypasses nutrient absorption. You'll absorb some. All of that food bypasses a lot of nutrient absorption, goes into the small intestines. White rice barely has any type of nutrients. So just that in itself is whack, right? Because white rice, you can just kiss nutrients goodbye with that. So you're full, but you're really lacking nutrients. You really didn't get anything from that meal. I have a few Indian friends who always eat rice for lunch, and they complain about being hungry, and they're constantly snacking. Exactly, because it's carbs and there's no nutrients in it. So the more nutrient dense food you consume, the longer you'll be satiated, the longer you'll be full. And there's something. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But you know, like I was saying earlier, hopefully the gram gets over itself and let me post the video that I want to post. And it's not even my video, it was a remix. They've been blocking me all day long. Won't let me post the video. So sad. It's a real good video. And I know why they won't let me post it. I can see, but it's a real good video that makes you think, right? So what kind of questions y'all got? Y'all have any questions? Anything you want to share? You don't necessarily have to ask a question. Share something. Zach said his dad started eating more meat and his pre-diabetes went away. That's a win-win. Yep. That's a win-win. You can't beat that at all. I was just talking to someone yesterday, and I was telling them they were talking about being anemic, and they were saying, they're having really bad memory issues. And I remember when that was happening to me. So I told them about going to get some raw milk, increasing their saturated fat intake because that's what the brain relies on. They've scared so many people into thinking that eating a certain way is harmful, and you don't even realize that what you're doing is actually harming yourself by not incorporating certain foods. And so you're having memory issues and you don't see the correlation between the two. The correlation is you need cholesterol, you need saturated fat, because that's what the brain loves. The feeling I feel today, mental clarity, not being dizzy all the time, not feeling pressured and like you can't keep things together, so you're anxious all the time, or you're not depressed. What's the word I'm looking for? You're worried, I guess, right? Raw milk is fantastic. Just learn that there is A1 and A2 type of raw milk. A2 is much, much better for those who are sensitive to dairy. Okay. One of y'all's babies. Hello, hello, hello. A1 and A2. I gotta look into that. That's what we drink. A2 raw milk and raw cheese. What a difference. I bet. I need to look into the one that I have. I get mine from a local grass-fed farm, and it's a game changer. I drink raw milk every night before I go to bed. Well, not necessarily before I go to bed, but with my meals. Oh man, it is a game changer. It's so satisfying. That's something else too. When I mentioned the milk to the person, they was like, no, 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 I can't drink milk. They was like, milk is nasty. They was like, blah, blah, I forgot what else they say. I want to drink raw milk, but can't find. Oh man, you can order some online. If I'm not sure where you're at in the world, but there's definitely places that you can order raw milk from online. Anxiety is wild, but I'm about to decompress from social media. I love people I connect with. It's just that I think since I've used it more being away from home for months, I've used it more. Okay, there's nothing wrong with taking a break from social media. Sometimes we're on there way too much. A1 and A2 have different types of casein protein. Okay, I have to look into which one it is. I think it could be feeding anxiety. I did 14 days only animal based a couple of months ago. How did you feel? 14 days doing 14 days only animal based. 14 days ain't enough though. So I'll be honest with you. So the first time I did mine, it was 30 days. And somebody told me 30 days is not enough. And in my mind, I'm like, 30 days is a long time. But I realized what they were saying after the 30 days was up and I kept going. It wasn't until like the 60 to the 90-day periods when I was like, whoa, this is a big difference. So I think it could be feeding anxiety. Okay, let's see. Yes, yes, can try to order raw milk from Raw Farm USA. Raw Farm USA. Thank you. Um, I get my butter from the same farm also. My eggs, my butter, and my eggs, my butter, and my milk from the same farm. So one of y'all's baby, you definitely thanks from Chile. I hope I can. International. Um, there's no raw milk in Chile? Well, I wouldn't make that statement. I understand that in some certain countries it's a little bit different to travel and to get certain things. So I understand. The first several days I had energy like nuts. I'm pretty energetic besides, but I was drained around the 14th day and I was extremely low energy. I had to visit the ER. So it could be two things. Well, first I want to know what did they tell you when you went to the ER? Because you probably didn't intake in enough fat. You probably were eating a lot of lean meat. Um, what did the emergency room tell you? Were you dehydrated? Because lean meat will dehydrate you. You need to intake up your fat so you can get the electrolytes. Hello, Primo. I'm Chilean too. Born in the USA, but my family is from there. I am first generation. Okay, that's what's up. Chilean. DL Pettyway, what's going on? Thanks for joining. We're just having conversation. Um, can't eat carnivore because of parental restrictions. Hey, we understand, but I'm eating whole foods. Okay. I eat mainly beef, eggs, chicken, wild fish, raw dairy. Let's see, raw dairy and ghee. Never felt better. That's good. So, Tamika Webb, you're asking to join. Let me think about it because I'm probably going to end in the next 5 minutes. But give me a second. What a coincidence. Okay, so 30 days was the plan. The ER was no help. It's hard for me to eat a lot when I'm being strict. My mind told me to take potassium and magnesium. That's what I did. And after a week, I was better. Okay, so that's something that I learned too. So we got to be careful because nobody really talks about this. Steak and Butter Girl, I think she does. But when you're consuming um, meat predominantly, you have to up your fat intake, because I was getting leg cramps, and I was like, why am I getting leg cramps? I didn't realize I wasn't eating enough fat, because you got to realize when you eat predominantly meat, your body is going to go into ketosis, and the body only uses energy for, I'm going to let you in, the body uses energy for two things, or in two ways, I should say. One, carbs. The body uses energy for carbs. Hey, how's it going? Let me finish explaining this point real quick. So the body uses energy, carbs for energy, but that's quick energy. But it also uses fat for energy. And so what you got to understand is, if you're not eating carbs and you're eating meat, if you don't have enough fat, then you're doing yourself a disfavor. And so that's why you were losing energy, because you probably was eating too much protein, and protein can dehydrate you. So that's something to keep in mind. What are your thoughts about MCT oil? I really don't have any thoughts. I think that it is another one of those chemical fads type deals where they're doing anything to distract you from using what's natural. It's basically coconut oil. The false USA food pyramids, have you seen this? Yeah, it's unbelievable. Nothing but processed foods. Hopefully I answered your question about the MCT oil. I wouldn't really buy into that. Yes, it has more saturated fat than some of the other oils, and it might be a little bit more healthy, but it's not necessarily natural from the standpoint of the way butter, lard, ghee is. They put Cheerios as healthier than meat. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy as hell. And so, hopefully I answered your question when it comes. I was averaging about 60 grams of protein a day. What about your fat intake? But we already know that's the problem. You already said it. So you weren't getting enough fats, which has electrolytes in them. So that's something to think about. I eat coconut oil every day. That's, fine, but there's a better option. I wouldn't eat coconut oil every day. That's my opinion, for what it's worth. It's okay, but there's better options. There's more nutrient dense options. Okay, that's what I wondered. I use ghee and grass-fed butter for sure. That's the good stuff. Definitely. I bought some MCT oil in the beginning when I didn't know any better, and I haven't used it since. For me, I would rather use what I know is going to give me the best. And so I'm not sure if you're just joining, but earlier I was talking about my blood work, and I did my labs for the first time in a year. Well, for the first time since I got on a carnivore diet, or predominantly meat-based diet. It's the Bright Life. What's going on? And for those of you that don't know, Mr. Bright Life, that's my son. Just so y'all know, go show him some love. He's in college, first year. And so I did my blood work for the first time since I started the carnivore diet almost a year ago. And prior to that, I was on a plant-based diet. And on a plant-based diet, my lab work was absolutely shit. It was terrible. I had like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with your lab work, but you know how they show you the name of whatever they're testing, and then they show you the ratio of where you lie. I had like 7 things in red, meaning that they were extremely low. My white blood count, my red blood count, my, I think it was my vitamin D, my B12, my lymphatic system was out of whack. There was all types of stuff going on. That was on a plant-based diet. So I did my labs for the first time since being on a carnivore diet. And I'm going to post it one of these days once I kind of can put it together. Um, when I was vegan, it wrecked my adrenals and hormones. Yeah, I bet. And so everything now is above average. All of my labs, my iron, my B12, my vitamin D, everything above average. The only issue that I had that was still low was my white blood count. But I'll take that for now because I'm in a step in a way better direction. I remember I was cold. They said I was anemic. I used to be cold all the time. My red blood count was like 2 point something, 2,500 out of, I think a safe ratio was like 8 to 10. I was at like a 2.5. Now I think if I remember, I was at a 8 or a 9. I think it was like a 9 something. So that's a huge difference. That's amazing. I need to do lab work now that I'm eating. Yeah, you definitely do. I would say give yourself a time, a little bit of time. I'm not sure how long have you been on the diet, but I would say give yourself a little bit of time. That's what I did. I wanted to kind of give myself a decent amount of time just to get a realistic, um, realistic lab work. And I think um, it's been 10 months, maybe 9 months. Oh, it's been 3 years. Oh, you long overdue. Definitely. You definitely need to check your labs. So yeah, you definitely need to get your labs checked. And so I asked them for everything. The doctor tried to talk me out of some of them. I was like, no, I want this, I want this, I want that. Put it all in there. I need to know. Don't try to talk me out of what you think I need. Just give it to me. Give me all my stuff. It ain't costing you nothing. Tamika Webb, you didn't want to get on? What about cod liver oil? Cod liver oil is fine. Um, our great grand folks use cod liver oil. I wanted to use MCT potentially because it's hard to eat all the calories sometimes. So, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with it per se, but it's just not the best. But we've changed, but you've changed my mind on it. I don't do synthetic anymore. Yeah, I didn't want to say that because, sometimes people get offended by certain things, but if you really think about it, it's kind of synthetic. You can't hear. Oh, you didn't mean to press the live. Okay. Can y'all hear me okay? Because somebody just said they can't hear, but everybody seems to be commenting back the video I meant. What? So you can't hear this? You're saying like right now you can't hear me. It makes sense now that you're saying that. Yes. So you can hear me. Okay. You might have to go back out and come back in because everybody's saying that they can hear. So I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. I am blessed. What's going on, man? Oh, okay. I got you now. Um, so I'm not sure. There's no way for me to put. Let me go and come back. Yeah, go out and come back. See what happens. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't necessarily, opt to do jump out and came back in when that. Yeah, jump out and come back in when it happens. What blood test did you specifically ask for? So when you go and get your labs, they'll do all the basic stuff. They'll check your white and red blood count. Okay, you can hear now. Good. Welcome, welcome. So when you do your labs, they'll do basic stuff. They'll check your red, your white blood count. They'll check, uh, get stuff up for your cholesterol. Um, they will check because they want to check to make sure you're not pre-diabetic and if you're not anemic. They definitely don't do your B12. You got to ask for that. I don't think they do the vitamin D either. You have to ask for that. Um, they check what else? I can't think off the top of my head. Somebody else help me out if you can remember what all they check on a basic when you ask to get your blood work drawn. Um, I can't remember what else, but you don't get your vitamin D, your B12. Um, oh, I also check my iron storage, hemoglobin, iron storage to see how much. So this is something that you got to be mindful about. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this topic, and then I think I'm going to wrap it up. But this is very important, and this is the reason why I decided to get my blood work. I can't remember the term, but thanks to Omar Sankofa, if you, yes, testosterone was good. Um, Omar Sankofa mentioned, and I should know this by now, but what you got to remember is the body not only does it utilize the food for energy and nutrients, it stores stuff. It'll store blood, right? And so what happens is it stores a lot of the nutrients and the minerals and stuff in your body. So what happens is on a plant-based and a vegan diet, when you're not getting, or even on a SAD diet, right? Because it's not just being on a plant-based diet. When you're on a SAD diet, you're not getting the minerals and the vitamins and the nutrients that you need because these carb nutrient less diets doesn't have what you need. So what happens is the body goes into the reserves and it pulls the vitamins and the minerals and all that stuff that pulls the blood from its reserves and it utilizes it. And so after a while, you become nutrient deficient. That's why I had those 5 cavities after coming off of a plant-based diet. Hadn't had cavities since I was a little kid. I had 2 cavities in my mouth when I was like 7 or 8. Grown man, haven't had cavities in years. I decided to go on a plant-based diet. When I started the carnivore diet, like 3 months in, I went to the dentist. 5 cavities. Why? Cavities happens because the body is pulling the nutrients from your body. Like the video I posted yesterday, the brain is greedy and it will take nutrients from somewhere else to get what it needs. And so I ended up with those 5 cavities because it was drawing nutrients from my teeth. My doctor keeps trying to get me to lower my consumption of saturated fat, even though he knows I'm carnivore. Of course he is. Same. How are they now? My teeth or my blood work? Said my LDL was way too high. I am blessed. Are you asking about my teeth or my blood work? I think you're talking about my blood work. So my blood work, I thought I had mentioned that, but maybe that was earlier. So all my levels are, oh, my cavities, well, I got them fixed, but I didn't get any more. And I know that my teeth and everything's starting to, just the way I feel it, based on what I'm eating and based on my lab work. I probably could have waited a little bit to see if it would reverse, but I didn't want to. But based on my labs, I'm getting sufficient nutrients. The only thing now is I have to figure out what's going on with my white blood cells, because when your white blood cells are not producing, it means that there's some type of infection, something going on with your defense mechanism, with your lymphatic system, right? So I'll be working on that next. So if y'all don't have any, if y'all got any more questions, I'll stay on 1 or 2 more minutes. Anything you want to share, any questions you have, I'll answer it real quick before I say sayonara. Going once, going once. I am blessed. Where are you from? You in the US? You overseas? Deb Scott, welcome. You missed a really good one. Can lower back pain be tied to kidneys? Absolutely. It could be tied to dehydration too. Do I eat fruit? Sometimes. I have like some avocados. NYC. Okay, that's what's up. That's the extent of my fruit. I really don't eat a lot of fruit. I just, do you fast? Boom. Absolutely. So I didn't want to go there today, but I do intermittent fasting on the weekend. So I work Monday through Thursday, and then I Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'll do a 16/8 intermittent fasting. I feel freaking amazing. Amazing. So I will eat from 12 to 8, and then I won't eat anything again until the following day, till 12. So 2 meals a day. I almost did 1 meal one day, but I broke down at like 7 o'clock. I was hungry. But yeah, I definitely fast. And I'm definitely noticing a difference in the way I feel. Yeah, it gives your body time, it gives your body a break, because when you're sleeping, you're fasting. Most people never think about that. So when you're sleeping for 6, 7, 8 hours, you're fasting. You can continue that fast when you wake up in the morning. If you're new to the carnivore diet, or if you're new to changing your diet, I don't recommend you fast in the morning, because you're going to feel fatigued, tired. So I didn't fast. I just started, because I used to fast when I was on a plant-based diet. And since I was on a carnivore diet, I recently started fasting for the first time about 3 weeks, maybe a month ago. I'm not sure, maybe 3 weeks ago. And it was on purpose, because I wanted to give my body time to heal itself, regenerate, replenish. So I was just eating, nutrient dense foods. And like I said earlier, with my blood work that I got yesterday, the proof was in the pudding. And so, yeah, definitely fasting. I think it's a good thing. Not when you're starting out this diet, but if you've been doing it for a while, definitely incorporate fasting. Any other questions? All right. Well, it's been real. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for asking the questions. Hopefully I answered some questions that you all had, and I will check. I notice it's easier for me to fast now that I built back up my reserves. Boom. Absolutely. And on that note, I will talk to you later. Peace out.